You've mentioned a couple of times now that you wouldn't be interested in going forward with this if the local people weren't interested. Is that right?
That's right. It's not going to happen. If the people of Vermont don't want this, it's not going to happen.
Well, I would suggest that instead of buying any more land, that you come here and actually meet the people and find out what we're like and what we want and what we don't want.
I already know that the local people don't want this. There's not one place you can go in the United States or even in the world where local people ever will embrace change. That's just psychological truth.
But I might suggest that before you buy any more properties, if you say that you're not going to go forward if the locals aren't for it, then why would you continue to buy more properties? Why don't you find out, what about composing a study?
I didn't say that I wouldn't do it if the locals aren't for it. I said I won't do it if Vermont's not for it.
Well, the farm was purchased by my grandparents in 1932, and they operated it for 50-something years. Then I took over in 1978, and I've been milking cows here ever since.
Well, this place is a little different. I don't know that it's true, but we've joked that we're probably one of the first farms that's had a mortgage in the last 100 years in this town. Everything, majority of this stuff is handed down, or it's a deal worked amongst the family, whether it's money or however it's worked out. But I think having things handed down is vital to a lot of, all this land is all old land.
We've been here, my sons will be the 8th generation on this place. We started milking cows again, my wife and I did about 35 years ago. And if you can save your farm by letting the next generation take it over, I think it's the best thing to do.
I'm part of White Hill Farm. I married the oldest son, and right now we're working on a transition plan for taking over this farm, and it'll be the 8th generation working this farm. It's carrying on tradition of small farms in Vermont, and this is a huge family attribute, and this is something they've been proud of for a really long time.
Community members in some southern Vermont towns say they're outraged over a developer's plans to purchase thousands of acres of land and build utopia-like community.
I didn't think he would start putting lobbyists into Montpelier as quick as he has. We just found this out about a year ago that this project was going to start happening in these 4 towns, and he's already starting to make his moves, putting people where we don't want them.
It'll have a huge impact on the area farms, as agricultural land is very limited in this area, and the proposed plan for the amount of acres that he wishes to acquire, and if that is all turned into development and housing for these people, the small farms that are in this area will suffer greatly. All of the land that we use here for making the feed for the cows is rented or leased, or just a good neighbor letting us borrow their field. And those fields, if they were to be sold or taken by the New Vista program, then that would be, all of our feed would be gone for the area. And that's not just us, and that's all the farms in the area.
you want this to sustain or to be sustainable for us, then I think you need to think about what Tunbridge would be like without any cows, and I think it'd be a pretty barren place.
So there's a couple different concerns that I have for taking over this farm. If New Vistas goes through, and in the time that we're looking at taking over this farm, what is that going to do for the value of the land, and how is the bank going to look at these properties? Are they going to look at it differently? Are they going to value them less? For us to get a loan to buy these animals and buy the land, I don't know how that's going to affect us being able to take over. If it devalues, then we probably won't be able to make it happen. It's going to be a huge struggle.
I think for the majority of the people in our 4 towns, his ideas are not welcome. I don't know how else to say it, but just that he seems to think that he is smarter than average or smarter than the locals, and that doesn't go over well.
We already do a lot of the things that you're suggesting, so why do you think that New Vista could do it better than what we already have?
It's still not the productivity that's needed in order to generate the food that is necessary for 20,000 people on only 3 square miles.
But we don't have 20,000 people here. Montpelier is 20,000 people. It's the 2nd largest city in the state. Burlington is only 40,000 people. So you're trying to produce a city that's bigger than our capital in an area that already has sustainable living.
And that's not sustainable worldwide.
Well, we're not the world, we're Vermont.
Any town in the state, if faced with the same thing that David Hall is offering, would be against it. I'm quite sure of that. And I think every town in the state would vote against it if they knew exactly what we were going through.
I don't think it's going to stop him from trying to do what he wants to do, and money talks. Farming is a good life. Yeah, I mean, you work hard, but you also, there's nothing like smelling the fresh cut of hay in the springtime, or the silage being cut, or the manure being spread, or a newborn calf being born. I mean, to me, that was when you worked all these years trying to get somewhere, and you're trying to breed your cows to the better animals. And you walk in, you got a nice heifer calf out of one of your top cows. I mean, boy, I did something good.
I got recalled back and went to Afghanistan. And in 2010, I lost a good friend of mine in Afghanistan. And I met my wife in Hawaii 2 weeks later, and basically everything had come together, and I told her, no matter what we do, I'm gonna milk cows for the rest of my life, because I'm not staying in the military. I'm not going to do stuff for other people anymore. I'm gonna do it for myself and for my family.
The biggest part of farms in Vermont and small dairy farming is what's kept the dairy part of this alive in Vermont too. So if the small farms disappear, that's taking away the identity of these people in Vermont and how they connect to one another